Hello and welcome to World Talks here on TVP World. My name is Skaya. Will this be Ukraine's toughest winter yet? Well, as the heating season begins under constant Russian attacks, millions are left without electricity. And Kyiv is striking back, targeting Russian energy infrastructure. Meanwhile, on the front lines of Pokrovsk, the question looms: if the city falls, what does it mean for Ukraine's defenses and Europe's security? Well, I'm joined by Rudik to find out more. Kira, good morning. So glad to have you here with us on World Talks. Kira, I first want to ask you, before getting into the politics, tell me, how are Ukrainians, ordinary Ukrainians, doing as winter is slowly approaching? And do please compare it to last winter, for instance.
Hello, Diana, and thank you so much for having me. As you can see, I'm in the dark. For the last couple of days, we only had electricity for a limited amount of hours a day, maybe 6 or 7 hours at night from 1 a.m. to 7 a.m., and then just a couple of hours during the day. And these outages right now are unpredictable. Thank God we have heat. However, we don't know if that's going to last. So right now, the situation is really dire for many people, not only in Kyiv, but throughout Ukraine. And we know that if these attacks will continue, we may be facing blackouts that will be much more drastic. If you compare it to the last winter, right now it's much worse. So Russia was deliberately attacking really strategically our energy infrastructure and energy production. So they are really trying to weaponize winter, weaponize cold, weaponize darkness against Ukraine. However, I can tell you, no matter how hard it is, where you have to wake up really early in the morning to wash your clothes and take a shower, I didn't hear people complaining, saying that it's so bad that we will leave. Mostly people are saying we will go through that together and helping each other, taking care of the people who are less lucky to have electricity or heat. And of course, the shutout is going to our emergency services, who are really trying to do whatever is possible right now to bring it back. We are facing the new working week, so let's see how our energy grid and our energy system will sustain with the fixes that were done during the weekend.
Kira, thank you so much for sharing your story there. Do tell me, though, over the weekend, Ukraine responded to Russian strikes by targeting Russian energy infrastructure. Is this going to look the same way? Is it going to be a difficult winter for Russians in some way? Do you think that it's going to be costly for Russians who are maybe beginning to wake up and to not believing this Russian propaganda that everything is simply bright and shining in Russia?
Diana, the goal, I believe, is to bring it to the homes of the people who started the war. However, we know that we are fighting against much bigger enemy and that it will be much harder to make ordinary Russians feel what they're bringing onto us. And I think the most important goal would be to make sure that Russia cannot make money of their selling of the oil and gas resources, and so decrease their capacity in this matter. But we don't see that there is like a huge effect right now. This reminds me of the beginning of the full-scale invasion, when we really hope that if we deliver the message about what is going on to the ordinary Russians, that they will pressure Putin to end the war. And it turned out that they just don't care. And it turned out that it's not hard to get the information in our world. So people just choose to close their eyes. So it can be perhaps that even right now, even if they will be without electricity as well, it will not change the support for Putin. However, we need to continue attacking the military targets, because this is where Russia is launching their rockets and missiles from, and this is the target number one.
Kira, I mean, you just mentioned, of course, disinformation. I mean, so in this battle against disinformation, of course, President Zelensky announced new sanctions against Russian institutions, against individuals responsible for fueling false narratives, right? From state officials and propagandists to even publishing houses. Kira, can you tell me a little bit more about that? To my understanding, President Zelensky announced the new sanctions in a social media post.
Yes, so the goal of the sanctions from Ukrainian side is not that we believe that it will seriously affect Russian propagandists, but it will be a list that we can then share with our partners in Europe, in the United States, and ask them to mirror those sanctions from their side. Because since the beginning of full-scale invasion, we have seen that general sanctions in Russia is not the most effective way of going on, because they are able to find the loopholes, they are able to continue trading with the world. However, the personal sanctions on Russian propagandists, on Russian military, is something that is making them think. Because the weird thing about authoritarian regimes such as Russia, Iran, and North Korea is they are very patriotic, so-called, but they all choose to spend their money on luxury brands developed in the West. They all choose for their wives to shop in Europe and for their children to study in London and not inside their countries. And so crippling them of these opportunities is something that is hitting hard. So this is why this is one of the ways that Ukraine continues putting pressure on people who are openly supporting the war.
Kira, let me ask you about the latest information regarding the Tomahawks, right? So Washington reportedly is still ruling out Tomahawks. Kyiv says the talks are continuing. Can you give us some details on where Ukraine is standing with this?
So I think the United States are in the situation where they can continue discussing Tomahawks, but they are still in this clash and a shutdown. So we are worried that the current supplying of the weapons may be stopped from the United States because of the shutdowns. However, what we hear in media, we in Ukraine know one thing. At the very beginning of full-scale invasion, we have heard no about everything, about long-range missiles, about tanks, about Patriot missile systems, about fighter jets. And we know that the only way you should go with this no is go ahead and continue pushing, showing your arguments and explaining that this is the only way moving forward. This is why even if we hear no, we will continue working to get it to yes, because the future of our country depends on it, because the protection of our people depends on this. And so no matter how many times people will tell us, our partners will tell us it's impossible, for us it's a matter of survival. And this is why we will keep pressing, keep discussing, hoping that at some point the situation will change and we will get what we need. It's not that we want Tomahawk missiles, it's not that we desire them, it's just that we desperately have to have them to protect ourselves.
Kira, and just very briefly, under a minute, I'm going to ask you a little bit of a difficult question. Do you think with the Russians circling into Pokrovsk, is the fall of this city inevitable?
Diana, I'm not a military expert, right, to tell you what's going on. And there I know as much as everybody else. And so I just want to wish our military all the best of luck and the wisdom to our military commanders, because I think they are right now in a very, very tough situation.
Thank you so much, Kira Rudik, Ukrainian MP at the Voice Party leader. Always a pleasure to have you here with us on TVP World.
Thank you, Diana, and glory to Ukraine.
And that's all for this edition of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm Diana Skaya. Thanks for watching.